They're everywhere, and they're not the simple old power lines you might imagine. Instead, they're the visible part of the mostly unseeable information superhighway. It connects businesses and governments across borders, across the globe, sharing the most precious commodity, information. But the information highway is also invading our homes, tapping into our personal lives, often without even realizing it. We're all plugged in. Phones, fax machines, and home computers, they all make our lives simpler and more convenient. But we're finding out that they also leave a hidden electronic trail, seemingly obscure, except in the hands of today's supercomputers. They can and do build dossiers and secret files on us that threaten our most cherished freedoms. Are we entering a brave new world, or could this be our final warning?
Who would have dreamed 30 or 40 years ago that every move that we make could be observed by satellite? Who would have thought that our telephone lines could be tapped without someone actually coming into our homes and tapping them?
People are being monitored through computers, through scanners, through videos. We are becoming very controlled.
There are people who remember Nazi Germany. There are people who remember apartheid in South Africa. They remember what it's like to have to carry papers. They remember what it's like to have to identify yourself on the street, what it's like to be marked for a certain race, or color, religion. And they worry that things might turn in this country.
If Big Brother, if the powers that be want to observe our every move, they can now do so.
We call it the information age. And ours is a generation of staggering technological advances, of changing lifestyles and conveniences. We shop with credit cards, bank and automated teller machines. And of course, we can reach into our pocket, pick up a phone, and talk to almost anyone, almost anywhere on the earth. There's no doubt that these technologies do mark a watershed, a moment in time when nothing afterward will ever be the same. But what are the dangers? What are the risks? Who is monitoring us? Who is tracking us? And why?
Virtually everything about the individual, the time they do the purchase or transaction, what they bought, what they did with it, what and where they bought it. Any related information about that transaction is all tracked.
Lars Soderstrom is an executive with one of the world's largest international banks. He worries about privacy and freedom in the information age.
The average individual, whether they realize it or not, information about their whereabouts, how long they were, what they did, is available to the bank. That information they may not want anyone else to know, including their wife.
Today, anything that takes place electronically, whether that means electronic banking, using a credit card, or making a phone call, creates an irrevocable permanent record. Put them all together, and you can create a complete profile on just about anyone. Privacy expert Jan Lori Goldman warns that the power this places in the hands of those with access to these records is alarming.
There is information that is created about you, that is created in databases, stored in databases all over the world, and will be maintained there. You can store information electronically for a very, very, very long time. It's cheap, easy. So you essentially create an electronic web of information that is like a dossier, that is like a biography, pieces of information that are all over, that can be pulled together essentially with a push of a button.
Just one example of this new threat to our freedoms comes from the shadowy corners of the IRS. The increasingly secretive federal agency is now in the process of an $8 billion upgrade on a secret taxpayer database of information on virtually every American. According to one investigative report, the IRS intends to match and compare tax returns with consumer information contained in computerized databases developed by federal, state, and local governments and the private sector. But it's not only what we do that is recorded. Where we go is also becoming a part of our data shadow. Some of this tracking is indirect. For example, airlines and travel agents are currently embroiled in debate over who owns the records of our travel habits. But some of the tracking and monitoring of our activities is much more direct. The implications of the emerging toll booth technologies alone are cause for serious concern. In the name of speeding up crowded highways, sophisticated toll booths now can read microchips in speeding cars and deduct the toll from the person's account. There is no question that it is convenient. But do we want shadowy organizations and agencies with access to centralized databases to know where we were and when? But surveillance-capable toll booths are only the beginning. Many of our cars are already being fitted with anti-theft devices that allow the cars to be tracked by satellite, and even the highways themselves are being computerized.
One thing which is on the horizon is something that is called intelligent transportation systems. Cars will be equipped with a computer device. Tolls, bridges, there will be mechanisms along the highway to track your movements. They will record your license number. They will make sure that your registration is up to date. They will make sure that you are not wanted for any tickets that you might owe. So that all of this will be monitored electronically, and they can monitor your activities.
Welcome to the beautiful state of Virginia. We hope your stay with us is a pleasant one. For information on local community events, press 1.
We can all be tracked. There's no doubt about it. No one is even attempting to deny it. And many would be surprised to learn that there are virtually no laws to protect us. So, we're all being tracked. The innocent and the guilty alike. But who decides if you're guilty or innocent? And if you're deemed to be a threat to security, what happens when the awesome surveillance technologies of Big Brother government are directed at you? Few people realize just how sophisticated the technology has become. Let's just take one example. Our telephone. It may surprise you to learn that today, right now, governments can and do monitor every single phone and fax communication on the planet. In the name of tracking terrorists and capturing dangerous drug lords, secretive federal agencies have focused next-generation supercomputers and sophisticated listening devices on an unsuspecting population.
The movie Clear and Present Danger was based on the Tom Clancy novel about American efforts to break the Colombian drug cartel. Insiders agree that Clancy's novels are never products solely of his imagination. Instead, he uses his fictional accounts to detail the realities of technology and power and surveillance capabilities in the 1990s.
Rojas, did you do this thing? Did I do this thing? Are you calling to ask me if I did this thing? You don't consult with us. You put us in danger. And now you have the arrogance to want me to believe that it wasn't you?
It wasn't, Enrique.
You have invited the Americans to retaliate against all of us.
I swear, I had nothing to do with it. Nothing!
Why do you expect me to listen to you when you're lying to me? Goodbye, Evans.
No. Don't hang up. Can we please have a meeting tomorrow night?
Tomorrow afternoon.
Thank you.
Cuban. 35 to 45. Educated in the United States. Eastern United States. That's the voice. Same voice. You sure? Yes. I'm sure. Mission. 90%.
What most people do not realize is that Clancy's seemingly fictional account is actually based on the very real events surrounding the surveillance netcast for and the finding of Colombian drug lord Pablo Escobar. Escobar had been in hiding for several years.
And then all of a sudden, he used his telephone, Mondo telephone, And because of our advanced technology, we were able to unscramble his voice prints by using very high technology. When you do this, they look at the voice characteristic. And what they can do with the voice characteristic, they can tie it back to a data bank where they have people voices on the database. And very quickly they can match the characteristics of them. That's what happens.
However, a former senior military officer with the NATO government, this man who spoke with us only on the condition of anonymity, says that today it may not only be the voices of drug dealers or international terrorists that are kept on file.
I wouldn't be even surprised if my voice is in there, your voice, and other people's voices.
However, voice recognition was only one part of the technology involved in the tracking of Escobar. The far more troublesome concern was the ability of sophisticated equipment to listen in on the millions of simultaneous calls taking place all over South and Central America during the search for the cartel leader. How widespread are such practices?
The National Security Agency, the largest Western intelligence organization, has denied that it can listen to all phone calls and radio messages. However, highly placed intelligence specialists trained by the NSA itself have confirmed this practice. One of these agents, Mike Frost, an operative within the Canadian Communications Security Establishment, the CSE, has gone public in admitting that he was trained to install sophisticated listening devices on the roofs of United States embassies and other sites worldwide. However, Frost goes even further than that. He confirmed that he had installed these devices in many national capitals to monitor communications and phone calls worldwide.
More recent investigations have found the code names for several of these covert operations. In North America, the NSA phone surveillance program is codenamed Oratory. At the same time in Britain, the BBC has uncovered the MI6's project, codenamed the Dictionary Program. Cray supercomputers monitor millions of calls simultaneously. They are listening for the use of any one of 400 keywords that have been programmed into the system.
So I have to write him another note this week. That's the third one. Sarah, you can't imagine the grief that boy is causing me. What I worry about is him failing the entire year. I guess not. At least not as much as Clinton did last night with that speech from the White House. I could not believe what I was hearing. Listen, Sarah, I gotta go pick up the kids from school. I'll talk to you soon. Bye, Sarah.
Whenever the computers pick up a targeted sequence of words, a tape is generated for intelligence specialists to review in their search for drug dealers or terrorists.
Write him another note this week. That's the third one. Sarah, you can't imagine the grief that boy is causing me. What I worry about is him failing the entire year.
He can't fall out as badly as our Bradley did when he hit for his eye.
I guess not. At least not as much as Clinton did last night with that speech from the White House. I could not believe.
While the argument can be made that this technology is necessary to capture drug dealers and terrorists, many are asking how this affects personal freedoms and liberties. They also ask if these issues are red herrings to